Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heads and Dovetails with myself, Jill Harvey-Bush, and of course, the wonderful Jamie Hubbard, who you can't see but on screen is busy waving at me. So
Good
I'm
morning.
waving back, Jamie. Hello, hello. As I
Uh,
say, it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever anybody happens to be listening to us. As usual, we have a little chat beforehand, and the one topic, because it's apparently Cancer Awareness Month this month, every day is a something day, isn't it? I think
it
Clive discovered
is.
it was Octopus Day the other day. So he did a silly rhyme about an octopus. But I think this has come to my attention because you're seeing all the adverts about please wear something pink, wear a pink jumper, wear this, wear
Mm.
that. It's Pink Awareness Month for cancer. But I've also seen, and it did make me think as well, a couple of people have coincidentally, I am sitting here in pink. That's a real coincidence. But I did see a couple of posts that make you think that actually saying we're not wearing pink. My mum died of cancer or my dad has died of cancer. What I would like the companies to do, who are doing all this, I'm going to call it pink washing because you know the term greenwashing. I don't know if pink
Yeah.
washing is a term, but I'm going to make it a term. All these companies doing pink washing, putting all
Mm.
pink ribbons on their products or on their packaging or whatever for this month. And as one girl went into quite some depth and very well said, I'm not doing it because actually what I'd like companies to do is rather than just stick a pink ribbon on their products for the month, is to remove all carcinogenic ingredients, chemicals from the products that they make. And I
Yeah.
thought she's got a point.
Yeah.
We go around going, oh yes, it's Cancer Awareness Month, but what are the companies doing? What are they
Mm.
actually doing to
Mm.
stop putting carcinogenic things in products that are known now as research to cause cancer? And some companies will say, well, it's only a tiny little bit, it's
Oh,
well below whatever the recommended, say, I don't know, 100 milliliters of something or whatever. And they say, well, it's only 10, but what they don't take into account, of course, deliberately, is yeah, but I might eat that which has got 10 in, and then I might wear that which has
yes.
got 20% in. It might all be below the recommended 50 that they're allowed to do. But if you
Yes.
add up everything that I'm putting on from, the moment I get up in the morning and have a shower and wash my hair and put moisturizer on and makeup and perfumes and then clothing, synthetic. Again, you kind of go, I personally don't use chemical washing powder or liquids anymore. As you know, Jamie, I've gone
Mm.
completely Nancy Birtwistle green. I make
Yes.
mine from ivy leaves, from conkers, and from very basic non-perfumed soap. And you just think, and it's the same. Candles have become a big thing. And again, lots
Oh,
of,
candles. I hate candles. Sorry.
you know,
I hate them.
chemicals in those.
Yeah.
And these
The,
plug-in air fresheners.
yeah.
Hello?
Well, well, the candles, Jill, there's no regulation. There's
No.
no, there's no regulation on the ingredients put in a candle. So
Wow.
so they may be chemists, they may not be chemists, they might be, of course they will, but they're going to do it as cheaply as possible to
Yeah.
make it as smelly as nice, whatever. And it's just the world's gone mad. I tell you what really scares me. What really scares me is I read something a few weeks ago, months ago probably, that there's that they recommend the maximum recommendation for how much plastic is allowed in your body. Right. What scares me is a group of people, probably politicians with a couple of scientists or whatever, have sat around a table and said, "Yes, okay, we'll do this as the minimum amount of plastic in your body."
Mm.
No, you shouldn't. There shouldn't. It shouldn't even be. There shouldn't be
Any.
the maximum amount of in your body. There shouldn't be a maximum amount of plastic in your body because there shouldn't be any bloody plastic in your body. They shouldn't be allowing any
Mm.
plastics in things to be in your body.
Mm.
But yet they do. And you look at toothpastes and toothbrushes and all sorts of things and ways. It's just, we're bonkers. And everything, going back to your pink wash thing, every time I see something like that, I just think, It's marketing. The skeptical side of me thinks, how much money are you making out of this?
Yeah,
That's it. That's it. I
I
would rather,
agree.
with what you've just said, I would rather see a company. I'd have much more. It would be much more authentic. It would be more genuine if a company said, "We're not going to do this, but tell you what we have done. We've reduced this by this, and we've reduced that by that. We're not. There's no massive marketing campaign. We're just telling you." This is it. If you want to share it with others, share it with us. We're not spending money on that because we want to spend our money that would go on a campaign for advertising, whatever.
Mm.
We want to spend a portion of that on making our products right.
I,
Bonkers.
I know, and it just drives you. I'm going to become one of these sustainability people who's going to drive people mad because I absolutely think that the more I look, and I'm reading this book, as you know, Less by Patrick Grant, which I'm still going through, and I saw a post from him this morning because it's also the campaign for wool. Now, I would much rather support the campaign for wool, although then vegans will say, well, we don't use wool because for whatever reason, it's an animal product. And I really struggle a little bit with that
And I do.
because I just think, this is biodegradable and it's natural and it's coming off sheep. And he was saying, and I've shared it this morning on my Instagram post about how he's looked at two jumpers. One is a crew jumper, which says with wool, and the other one says wool. So, in some ways, this is a bit going back to the greenwashing that you think, oh, this is a wool jumper. And he said, as soon as I looked at the label and saw warning may catch fire or keep away from fire, he said, I knew this is not mainly wool. So he
Yeah.
then looked at the content in there, and I think it's ultimately there's something like, I mean, you have to see my post, 70% polyester, 30%,
Yeah.
or 20% viscose, 10% is actually wool. But somebody will pick that up and think, oh, it's a wool jumper. It isn't. So he's comparing the two, and he said this crew neck jumper isn't wool. This one is one that he's had for 50 years. It is wool. And he said, okay, this one, the wool one, probably costs 10 times more than the polyester
Yeah.
viscose one.
Yeah.
But you will buy one of these every year. And he said, I get it that a lot of people can't afford a 70, 80, £100 jumper. But he said this is the false economy
Yeah.
and not supporting anything. So that's the greenwashing that goes on as well, that people think they're doing it. And I'm very well aware I'm sitting here today and I've obviously got a very thin type polyester viscose little polo neck on, and then I've got a thicker jumper on top. But again, that's not pure wool. So it's really raising my awareness, Jamie, to how many
Yeah.
chemicals we're actually wearing. And that even came down to something else with regards to black. If you wear a lot of black, that comes from the coal, is a byproduct of the coal. So it's chemical
Well,
industry.
yes.
Uh,
I mean, isn't nylon part of the petrochemical industry?
yes,
So if they're on about getting rid of petrol and diesel, those industries still need to happen. It doesn't mean they've got to stop pump. They'll stop pumping crude oil out of the ground, does it? Because they'll still need that for paints, for all sorts of things, all sorts of products, plastics, everything. Everything.
yes,
I'm pretty sure that everything that contains sort of plastics is from the petrochemical industry.
it is. And that's what they're just
So
saying. It's
so
oil.
why
So
do
we're
they think?
wearing chemicals, we're wearing oil, and then we're
Mm,
wondering about, hormones, disruptors, moods, all sorts. So we've
well,
gone to kind of a way, but I look at these now and think when I see, like this morning when I was shopping, when I see the little pink ribbon on somebody's
mm,
packaging, I just think, really? And I turn it over and see how many ingredients in a sandwich? Like,
yeah.
what?
Well, that I put a post up about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, since the last podcast, and it was the sort of a then and now video that somebody'd done, and he said, and he put, oh yeah, we used to drink this all the time, and then they got a sort of a picture of a guy with a can of Coke and what was in it 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then a picture of a can of Coke with the ingredients now. And the ingredients
Mm-hmm.
now in a can of Coke compared to 30 years ago are three times as many ingredients. And then it went to
Mm.
something else and another product. And every product he moved on to. Now I haven't done the background to check all the ingredients in that, but it just made me think, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that so many fillers go into products to make them
Well, it's to make them
cheaper
taste
for
as,
them,
yes, it
so they
is.
can
It
make
is.
maximum profit.
It
That's it.
is. It is
That's
absolutely
it.
that. It's about how many chemicals can I put in here to make it taste better. I think we've touched on this before, like with
Yeah.
chocolate. It's changed little by little by little by little.
Oh
I think
yeah.
we talked about this before, and therefore there's a lot more synthetic chemicals going in because we add this to take away the taste from that. So then we add this to take the taste from that. And you kind of go, wow, that's why the ingredient list is so different. There was a program
Well,
on Channel 4 this week with Joe Wicks, and he
yeah.
makes a protein bar. I don't know if you
Yes.
saw it, called
Wiki. Is it
Killer.
called
It was
Killer?
Gill's
That's it.
Killer.
Yes.
And
Yes. I
actually,
saw it.
just purely made from chemicals within
Yes.
the realms that is allowed, but
Yes.
actually, some of it is known to cause all sorts of issues.
That's just mad, isn't it? That you
And
can
it
do that.
completely mad in
I
my
mean,
book.
it's good what he's trying to show, that the governments, the regulators, whatever, have you know, said, well, no more than this or whatever. It's good that he's showing. But I mean, would you like to try a bite of a bar that's got just before the legal limit of things in it? I mean, it could probably taste fantastic, and you'd probably go, oh, which then makes you think, well, I think that another one on that video of the before and now was McDonald's.
Yeah,
Hamburgers,
yeah.
fries, all sorts of things. I
Well,
think they
again, I
said,
know somebody who has done that experiment themselves. They've bought the
yes.
hamburger, they've bought the
Oh, yes.
hamburger, they've bought the fries, and they've just kept them in the packaging and put it away. And a year later, they brought it out. It was our
I
old
think it's,
chiropractor, Joe, and
I,
it looked exactly the same as when he put away. No mold,
yeah,
nothing on it.
yeah.
Just
I
think,
think that's about
what?
16 years old now, something like that. And it still looks the
Yeah,
same. The bun still looks the same.
yes.
Oh,
We talk about
if mold won't
what's
grow
real
on it.
fault. Exactly. There was a great post again, it's stuff you see it that just makes me think. I do question, I don't just take everything. But a post I saw again on this subject. So obviously the algorithm's working well to bring them to me.
Yeah,
Basically saying we are the only species who spray our food to stop other animals eating it so that we can consume it ourselves. And I read it a couple of times and my brain was, I could feel my brain working, thinking, that is so true. So
I
we
know.
spray our food with chemicals and pesticides and insecticides to stop other animals and creatures eating it, and then we consume it ourselves. And I
Right.
did, you go, that's
I know.
bonkers.
I know. So, so what do I do, Jill? Because I'm eating more broccoli, which I'm enjoying.
Mm,
Should I mean, I should minimum wash the florets on,
correct.
but it's fresh from down the road. It's a little fruit shop, proper fruit shop, not covered in plastic.
But
So
do they spray it?
if I just wash it, is that enough?
There was I think, look back to Nancy Birtwistle. I think she, like with the strawberries, washes it in a little bit of bicarb to get any kind of stuff off. I think there's various things that you can wash it
Yeah,
in, but even just washing it because the water doesn't necessarily get all of the pesticides and insecticides off. But it's a nightmare.
but you
It's a
see,
nightmare.
if somebody said, "Oh, we'll eat Brussels sprouts are just as good for you um as broccoli." A Brussels sprout, I can peel that. I can take a couple of layers off.
Yes,
Whereas broccoli, that's the flower. That's the
correct. The floret bit.
how do I take away any from that? I tell you what I do, and that's the stalk, and I love the stalk of broccoli. Absolutely
Mm,
soft and
mm,
wonderful.
mm.
Um, but what I did a couple of days ago, going off slightly, what I did a couple of days ago was I had a light meal one evening when there was nobody here, and I just did a round of bread with veal butter and a slice of ham. I boiled up, say, three reasonably large florets off my broccoli and some of the stem. I took about an
Mm.
inch and a half off the stem, peeled that, took the outer from that, topped it, and took the bottom off it, and boiled all that up. And then I got that boiling water. So this was all washed first, and then I got
Yes.
that boiling water and added inch and a half of ginger, half a lemon, some honey, and whatever. And I went online and I asked ChatGPT, as I do now, and said, right, what do we think of this? Is there anything good
The
in this?
poor servers.
I know. And I said, so how am I doing with this? What do you think? And it said, it listed all of the um, electrolytes and things in there, all of the vitamins and all
Mm.
sorts. Even though I've boiled it out of it to eat to consume the broccoli, there's still some in the liquid. It does say leave the
Absolutely.
saucepan lid on so that
Yes.
it can go
Go back
condensation
in.
go
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so what I'd lost in boiling, I gained in, and I had 2 days worth of tea out of it, and actually I've got to be honest, I had a little bit of stomach ache the one day, but I think I'd overeaten. I think I'd overeaten broccoli that
Or it's like me and my nettles when I was overeating nettles.
day.
Oh, there's an impact here.
Yeah,
It's
something's
so
going on.
difficult. I mean, we never used to think about this, Jamie, let's be honest. And that's the catch 22. Do I go and buy organic, or do
I
I
know.
go to the local farm shop and help support local, but that's not necessarily organic? But then you talk to some of the farmers and they say, well, we're practically organic, but we can't call it organic under the law because of
We use
XYZ.
this.
But we
Yeah,
don't spray insecticides, or it's because our farm is next to a farm that does spray. So if anything comes onto our farm, and you just think, oh God, this is a nightmare.
we
Hence, I
can't.
grow my own.
Well, that's it. Right. Let's move on a little bit. Yes, exactly. The only way you can do it, and I think this is for me quite important. You've got more time because your work is at home and you can just walk out the door
Mm.
to your
Which is why I
garden.
don't have an allotment. I wanted the garden. I admitted I'm
Yeah,
lazy in Weybridge. I could have got an allotment, but I admit because of time constraints, like I did yesterday, I had half an hour between clients. So I was out in the garden and I just weeded a little bit of a bed and then came back in again. Whereas if I had an
brilliant.
allotment, I'd have to, by the time I got to the allotment and I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd be coming straight home. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted a bigger plot so that I could grow literally outside the back door.
Right. So my question is, so I went to the shed yesterday. I had to get a few bits, and I came back out, and those two red boxes that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, a few
Hmm.
weeks ago on the podcast,
Yes, for
those
the
two red
compost.
boxes, there's something growing. There's something growing. It's about 2 inches tall. I think it's a leek. So this is out of coffee and sawdust.
Yes.
Right. So about 3 weeks ago, I was tidying some stuff up and doing some things, and I found an ivy that was growing under one of my pots on the patio, and I thought, "Well, sorry, mate, you've got to come out." Pulled it out, load of roots. I thought, oh, okay, there you go. Go up to my little compost box, make a little bit of a hole, put it in, push the soil, the coffee mix, which is now it's soil. It's soil now. Put it on top of it, and just thought, well, there you go. Good luck. Didn't water it, didn't do anything. That's gained 2 inches and about 12 leaves on the
Hmm.
end, thriving. So, because this is a real, even though I know it's pH neutral, it's 7. It's going to be
Mm.
about 7. Um, it's rich. It's rich in everything else, and the bugs are in there, and it's loving it. And is it called? I think it's called
Yes.
anaerobic decomposition.
Yes.
Anyhow, yeah, leak yesterday. So my thing is, right, okay, if you've got the ultimate sort of, so let's say, I mean, you've got a big garden. Mine's a bit smaller, and I've got a lot of bamboo and stuff to cut out. But anyhow, when I come to it, what is the best return investment for in the garden? Not for things like potatoes, which I'm not too worried about the potatoes that we buy because at
Mm.
least they're underground and it's doing all that and the flower might get it, but okay. I'm more worried about the broccoli. So what
Hmm.
would be if I did do a couple of raised beds? Do I just do what I did the other day, which is I take some of the waste vegetables that are
Hmm.
in my little compost bin in the kitchen? Do I take them out and go, actually, that's a decent base. That might even start. Do I put
Mm.
that somewhere and poke a little stick in saying, could be this, question mark? And sort of do it sort of varied like that, which means I'm not actually planting a crop then. I'm planting irregularly, but it would be mean would it would produce irregularly. You get me? It would
Yeah,
probably
you'll
wouldn't be
get
too
stuff.
bad, would it?
Well, it was a bit like me with my leeks last year, as we're talking leeks, that had
Mm,
rust on them. And I lifted them and thought, oh, cut all the leaves off, but actually forgot to put them. I mean, I got rid of the leaves, but I forgot to put the bulb bit in, in the compost. A few months later, I could see the bulbs were sprouting. So, do you know what? I'm just going to stick these in the ground and see
yeah,
what happens. And they all grew. None of them had rust on it. I had, I had leaks coming out my ear holes, Jamie. I was like,
nice. That's a
it's
nice
just
view.
like
We can all. Everybody
Jill
listening
with
now is
leaks
thinking
out
of
my
Jill with
ear
leaks
holes.
coming out of her ear hole.
Well, yeah, I'm still going with my carrots. I've still got my parsnips are in ready for Christmas, and I'll start pulling some of those so I can make spicy parsnip soup and roast parsnips, etc. So there is a lot you can do, and I haven't fully. I'm not using my beds as fully as I could because I could interplant as well, which or
Mm,
what's called underplanting, which I see Monty now doing a lot on Gardener's World and various other gardeners doing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I've got to get my head around that when I put this crop in, I could actually be going this on top. So lettuce or cress
yes.
and this crop will be done before this crop comes out. I've still got
I
my
know.
beetroot in, so there's still beetroot growing nicely.
Yeah,
But
which is great. Which is great.
yeah,
I tell you what I do like. I'm liking. Oh no, we've gone from pink wash now. We're wandering off. I do like seeing. I've seen a few of them lately. These videos of people where they've got sort of 3 inch plastic piping. Sorry about the plastic.
yeah,
Um, but they've got a carrot out of it, and this carrot's 2.5 foot long. And I'm like,
yes,
hang on a sec, hang on,
yes.
this
I
is
mean, that's a
brilliant.
specific type of carrot. I'm not
Is
sure
it?
how sweet it would be. Yes, it's not just any carrot. You have to buy a particular type of carrot to
Okay,
grow it that long. I've seen them, people growing them in barrels and just waiting to see
nice.
how long the carrot is.
But
I'm not sure how
uh,
sweet it is, but anyway.
yeah, yes, because it's older as well, isn't it? So
Yes.
it's
I
going to
mean,
get a bit more.
yesterday, again, I was having my cup of coffee, and the workmen with the trays are here doing the garden room, and I was busy braiding my old
Yes.
bulrush leaves, which have been drying in the garage. And one of the guys asked me, Jill, what are you doing? And I said, I'm braiding bulrush leaves. And he was like, and he looked and he was really amazed and said, wow, it's like string. I said, yeah, it is. It's really quite tough. And yeah, I wanted to do some for my fat ball holders. And actually, I've now got an idea. I've done two long ones. If I can do another couple, wondering what that would be like weaving one of those in a willow basket with the willow.
Mm.
Just so I'm starting to play around, but there's so much you can reuse. And people keep telling me they don't have enough time until I ask them, just have a look on your phone and see how much time you spent on Facebook, Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
sports, whatever this week. How much time? And one person was completely shocked and said, I've spent 36 hours on social
You know,
media in a week. So that's a day and a half, or three
yeah.
days. Yep, that's what you're doing. And
But again, this is, let's go back to this. It's big corporations
yes,
making money, making products that they're basically selling advertising on.
yep,
Uh, and that's it. And that's the way of the world. That's what all of this is about. I mean, us doing this now, I suppose, is helping Zoom because we do this
of
across Zoom.
course.
And
Yep,
then when you put it out, it's helping Apple iTunes and it's helping all of those others. And we sort of can't get away from it, can we? Because there's no.
well, it's going back as much as we can to the local economy. Again, this goes back to less that raised my awareness about, yeah, actually, when we're buying everything abroad, nothing coming in. But an absolute classic, I booked on a course I wanted to do with Eddie Glue, a willow weaving, 5-day willow weaving course
I saw
next
that
next
next
October.
October. I know. I
Next
saw it,
October.
and it was selling out. And I
It
was
was
just like,
sold out within 2 days. Sold. And that's why I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And luckily, happened to be on my computer when the email came in to say
that's
two new courses. And I thought,
And
right,
it's
I wanted to go back, ask him a quick question. What if, life happens? I couldn't see on my phone where there was any refund. I went back to Eddie and he answered saying, yes, here's my T's and C's. If you cancel within, 28 days, you'll get a full refund under that. If I can sell it, then you'll get a certain amount back, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, great. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll just have a little look around because it's up in Uttoxeter. So I'll be coming up past you, up near Uttoxeter. And I thought, well, I'll just have a look and see where if there are some nice little B&Bs. I can't afford too much because of the course, so I don't want anything flash. I want something very basic, very cheap. I'm not going to be there during the day. I found this little B&B called Manor Farm, I think it is, and just out of query. And I semi-jokingly emailed said, I know this is a year away, and you probably don't know what your prices are, but I'm looking for somewhere, and they have a little kitchen downstairs so I can cook my evening meal. Well, she came straight back and she said, this is the price. And actually, I only have one room left. I was just like, what? But the clue was when I then said, yes, I'll take it, she came back and said, the reason you've got the last room is the other women booked on Saturday. They'd also booked the same course that I had, so had immediately booked the B&B. And I thought that is a great example of local economy at
yeah,
work. So
yeah,
because of Eddie's courses, that's had a knock-on effect to the local B&B and the
yeah.
farmhouse. So the economy is staying within the local area, if you like, and we're bringing that economy in. I
Yeah,
thought
which is great.
that's yeah, that's a great example for me of what Patrick talks about in the book of in the old days everything was a local economy, and
Yeah.
he's got a community clothing project which is he tries to keep as local as possible. So anyway, that's the story of my of my
Well,
course, and I'm really looking forward to it in a year's
well,
time.
well, just going to back to the clothing thing. The thing is, saw something the other day, and they said it's ironic that the people that are making all the money and doing all the big, making the big bucks and the business are doing the Zen things like learning to knit and doing woodworking things and doing and going to the woods and walking around
Hmm.
and doing all and blacksmith courses. They're doing the things
Hmm.
that the tradesmen or the people in the homes. It's like the sewing. It's like the sashiko Japanese sewing was, that was the repairing, and it was patchwork on clothing to make that clothing last longer. And that's what
Yes.
I've been doing. My jeans. I love this pair of jeans that are sitting folded
Yeah.
up on the floor down there. I love that pair of jeans because they're light and comfortable. And all I've done is put more patches on them, but now it's bringing new life to them, and they will end up with loads of patches, and that's great because then it's a sort of
Well,
expression, freedom of expression thing.
exactly. And they'll
But
be
it's
unique.
not. Yes, but it's not a new pair of jeans.
But the interesting thing
So
is that the trades that poor people, if you want to put it that way, working
yeah,
class people were required to do, like me, willow weaving, whittling, all of those, like you, carpentry, woodwork, all of
yeah,
that. How interesting they're now saying those have died out as, employment, but they're employment now because the wealthy are paying to learn how to
yeah,
do something that was
yeah.
done by the poor in the past. And I thought, yeah, that's true.
Well, this is. I mean, this it's
It's seen as a
exactly true.
luxury to go, making a flower wreath or to be making this or to make anything creative.
Yeah,
Wealthier people are now paying to go and learn to do. How we
yeah.
go full circle, isn't it
Well,
bizarre?
this is the thing. At the sort of, I'm not going to say top of my game because my game's been different throughout the years. But pre-COVID, I would have 4 or 5 jobs for Michelin star restaurants per year,
Yeah,
and I would make those and make enough to get me through the year.
yeah,
COVID comes along. The restaurant industry's totally changed. The
yeah.
Michelin star has totally changed.
Decimated.
They're struggling. They're
Yeah,
all struggling. So
yeah,
because they're struggling, they're not buying pieces from me, which means my business is different. My business model is different now. And it's basically I'm teaching more people that can afford to come on my workshops week in, week out. For
hmm,
one of them's been coming 6 years now.
yeah.
And and then make what they want to make. And I help them make those things like, here we go, we've come back to it, like the owl that you've just seen a post on, which I
Yes.
didn't make. So one of my guys, and there's a sort of shout out to another Alex here. Alex Walshaw used to be on in the same building as me or within the same site as I am. And he's a brilliant green woodworker. He's so good. And he's got a big following on Instagram and he makes some lovely pieces. And I messaged him yesterday morning and said, because he put another owl out. So he'd made this wooden owl. He uses old fence posts. So
They're
he takes an old fence
beautiful.
post,
Yeah.
gate post, the top's faded and or
Yeah.
rotting away. The barbed wire comes away, so it gets thrown out. He carves those into owls and all sorts of bits and pieces. His work is wonderful. He's got a big following. He sells on Instagram.
I
So I think
must
he
follow
puts a
him.
post up. Yeah, I could make you something though. No, Alex is great. So I wouldn't knock any of Alex's
Yeah.
stuff. Anyhow, this one of my guys has done. He's got these three pieces of wood, and I said, "Well, you've seen what that Alex guy does," and he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, why don't you ever go in an owl?" He said, "I'd love that." I said, "Well, have a go in an owl." And he said last night, "This is one of the most interesting." No, not necessarily interesting. He said he's just loved doing this owl, and what I've noticed is he's not been asking every step of the way through this carving this owl.
Mm.
He's just gone on to do bits. We were nattering last night, and I said, "Hey," I went over and said, "How are you doing then?" And I said, "Oh, you've done the eyes." I said, "Oh, you've done this," and he said, "Yeah, I just felt like doing it." And I said, "Yeah, it works,
Amazing.
doesn't it?" So he's then, because he'd gone from asking about every detail, how do I do this? How do I do that? He just felt the freedom in a chisel, a mallet, and a piece of wood,
And he went with
and
it.
a pencil, and he's just gone with it. And last night, after that photo was taken, we went outside, got a blowtorch on it, and it's now black. And
Oh, can't wait to
I've
see
got a
it.
smashing picture of it in because it was dark last night, and there was a
Can't wait
floodlight
to
on
see
us.
it.
He's done really well,
You're
and he's
gonna
going
have
to
to
do another
post
one.
it. So can we give him a shout out as well?
Dave, yeah, yeah, Biffo,
Dave, a big shout out.
Dave Biffo, yeah,
Can I have
Biffro,
a, yeah, absolutely. And if you can
yeah,
do more like that, that is something, as I immediately thought, oh, I'd love to have one of those in the garden. It's
yes,
people
well,
getting back to wanting natural
yes.
products rather than plastic
Well,
products, which I think is
it's made me
great.
think. It's made me think that when I do my fence posts at the top of the garden,
Carve
rather
on
than having the
top.
concrete there, I will clad around the concrete with timber. But I
Yeah,
think that last post, right on the on the boundary, top of
yeah.
the garden, I think there's an owl going to sit there on the top of the
Fabulous.
post,
Well,
and I
it
think it'll
just
just look, it'll
it'll
look right,
finish it
won't
off.
it?
It'll be great. It's like
Yeah,
next door. I think I told you next door. I'll probably use it as a thumbnail, if not the owl, that they had a massive conifer cut down, huge conifer cut down. And
yes,
in the end, what the guy did when we realized he'd finished, we just thought he was a tree surgeon and begun. But then when we looked round and we drove out the drive, he's carved a lovely mushroom out of the
yeah.
stump. So rather than leaving the stump, they've got this beautiful, which, over time is going to change colour and so on. Anyway, Jamie, I think we're a little bit over the half an hour, not much, but just a little bit. So there we are. We've gone from pink washing all the way through to, well, greenery really, and getting back to nature and using natural products. So we inadvertently did a wonderful link from cancer stuff to natural stuff. Perfect.
The
And
way to do it.
covered everything in between as you and I usually do. So again, thank you to everybody who listens to us. Thank you to our regular listeners. And so we just constantly want to give you shouts out if we know who you are, and hope you've enjoyed this episode, and that if nothing, it just gives you something to ponder and maybe think about with regards to the wider world. If you'd like to subscribe, of course, we love to have all of that stuff that everybody says. Subscribe, like, comment, share, then please do. And Jamie, that's another couple of weeks, and we'll see you towards the end of October. And where
Yeah,
does that time
wonderful.
go? Yeah,
Yeah,
you have a good couple of weeks.
and you. See you
Okay,
guys.
bye.